This video I'm going to show you how to wire up a cheap-ass Chinese head unit into your Superdutty or Excursion Ford vehicle. I've got an Erisin ES7835, the one with the 4.0 Android tablet on the front. This video is going to focus mainly on the wiring though. You've got your standard wiring harness. You're going to have to get yourself a harness pigtail. You can get those at Walmart or any auto parts store. Going to want to do our connections here. It's pretty straightforward, just about like any other radio. The brake line here I hardwired to ground so that you can watch DVDs while driving. You got your ignition wire, your battery positive wire, your illumination wire, your amp turn on wire, your power antenna wire, and then of course you have all your standard speaker connections here. Those are all standard. Now where it varies is this second connector here. Got a second connector, and coming out of that you have a secondary video. You've got two steering wheel control wires and a ground wire. And basically what I did is I put a little bullet connector on there, and I came over here to this little bullet connector they had built into the ground wire. That was actually already there, so I just put a male end over here on the ground wire coming out of the second connector. As far as the steering wheel controls go, you've got two wires, a red and a green. They're both marked AED. I wasn't sure when I first got this whether I was going to need a CAN bus audio decoder or not. My truck is a 2005, so it does have CAN bus, but they don't really tell you when you're ordering these cheap-ass Chinese units whether you need CAN bus wires or CAN bus converters or not. So I just started hooking wires up and connecting it. What I found is that the green or the red wire connected will work. I even tried both of them connected together. That worked. But pretty much either or, and it will work with your CAN bus to control your steering wheel controls. That wire goes over to your factory harness and gets wired into the blue with red stripe wire. Now there are two blue with red stripe wires. One is actually an illumination wire, and one is the steering wheel control wire. And it'll be the one that doesn't have a pin connector out of the harness here. That's an easy way to tell. I think it's also slightly lower gauge, and I think the red stripe is a little bit wider on that one. Yeah. So that's your steering wheel control wire. Come over here, go to either the red or the green wire. They've got a DVR connector here. I didn't buy the DVR. If you want to like record everything you drive by or record shit in your vehicle, you can get a DVR from them also. Secondary video. Now the antenna, it was actually slightly too small for that hole. There might be adapters available, but it was like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It wasn't enough that I figured an adapter would be that easy anyways, so I just took a thin strip of foil, folded it in half and wrapped it around the connector and stuck it in there, and it fits pretty snug now. The center pin goes in snug. It's the outside that doesn't quite contact the outer diameter, so I had to use tinfoil there. It works. I'm getting radio stations. USB, that can go to a hard drive. It can go to any kind of USB peripheral. I've actually got USB right there along with my audio in. I wired that up when I had my Pi adapter. hooked up for my factory stereo. Had a XM Pi adapter with 5 volts out, and I just wired it to that USB port, and this time I actually wired the USB to the USB cables coming into the unit. And I've got the iPod cable just sticking out the bag hook there. I don't actually own an iPod, so I'm just going to leave it there. That way when I have someone ride with me that has an iPod, it's right there and ready to go. Down here I'm going to wrap up my audio and video inputs, wrap them up there and put them behind the kick panel there. You've got your rear view camera in, top right. You got your video in, you got video out, audio out, and audio in. These are the ones that go down to my cup holder hook. Audio input. Right next to that connector there is a mic input. I don't have a mic wired up. I'm probably going to be using a Bluetooth headset most of the time. But it's the hardest part is running all the wires, like running the license plate camera, running that back. If you want to solder these up like I did and put heat shrink, that takes a little while. I still have to heat the heat shrink tubing there. But it's pretty straightforward. Oh yeah, you've got your GPS antenna. The weird thing about this 7835 model is that the base unit runs Windows CE just like the older units did, but the front end doesn't actually have GPS enabled. So it's got this GPS antenna, which I've just got going up on top of a little duct there. I've done that before in other vehicles and it has no problem going through the dash. But on this unit, they give you the GPS antenna, but it's not actually used because you're actually using the Android tablet for all your GPS. I'd like to see them include a firmware update that lets you run the Windows CE based GPS software, especially since you got this nice GPS antenna hooked up. That's good for GPS when you don't have a data connection. You can run the Windows CE based GPS software without having to be hooked to like Google Navigation or one of the other ones. One other thing here, the reverse sense wire. That's what tells the unit to turn on the reverse sense. I've actually got it wired up so I can use one of my upfitter switches here, or it'll also turn on with my reverse with the shifter there. And to do that, what you need to do is go over to your passenger side kick panel, pull the wire going up to the mirror here. There's a black with pink stripe wire, and that wire pretty much goes everywhere. The reason you picked the one going straight up to the mirror is because you know that's at the end of a run, and what you do is you cut the wire and put in a diode so that when you feed this power on, it's not going to go back down into the rest of the vehicle and turn on like the reverse sensing or the park meter or the tail lights. Basically it will go out, it will shut this off. Basically that turns off when you have your reverse sensing going, but it will not turn off everything else. So make sure you put a diode in there. That'll block power going back into the system. And so I've got one wire running over there to the kick panel and one wire running to my upfitter, coming into a bullet there and going in. So wiring's pretty straightforward. It does seem to be a slightly larger DIN size. I got this cheap ass kit from Walmart, and it's a Scotch. I don't recommend it. It does not quite fit right. These little pegs here, they don't actually go in far enough to contact and hold it secure. You have to cut off all these extra tabs. You have to cut all those off. It's a pain in the ass. And the head unit itself is slightly larger, and I actually had to cut out 1/8 of an inch on either side. It's a pain in the ass, really. So I had to cut out the hole of the DIN mounting plate they give you, and I don't like the way it fits. I went ahead and ordered one of the ones that Crutchfield recommends. I ordered it off eBay for $8. I'm gonna get that one. Hopefully that one fits better, but since I'm all ready to put it back in, I'm just gonna install it with this one, and when I get the new one, I'll put it in. But don't buy a Scosh. It is model FD3090. Don't buy that shit. It's crap. Pure crap. So that's it for today. I'll do a video review of the actual Chinese head unit once I get it back in.